What's going on, man, and welcome to the video. Today's video is going to be something that's very important, stuff I was doing for most of my life, and I thought these were normal things to do, but they're pretty big weaknesses. And without knowing, they were negatively impacting my life. And pretty much, if you're doing any of these things, I don't want you to have to keep going through it and keep doing them. Today I'm going to bring you the 3 weaknesses all men must overcome. With that being said, let's get this video rolling. All right, so without further ado, let's get into number 1, and that is deprogram yourself. I think all men understand that we should never put women up on a pedestal, right? Which means you shouldn't look at women like they're unattainable and that you're not worthy. This is something that's going to make you have low confidence and make you afraid to even talk to them. And this is something that I can speak on from experience because I went through that for many years of my life. However, I was doing some things that I didn't realize that subconsciously I was putting women on a pedestal. So a big problem that we face is when you have insecurity, when you have self-doubt, you tend to latch on to any type of girl that you have any kind of connection with. And this doesn't even mean that you guys are going to get together. It just means that you're holding on to hope that a certain somebody is going to give in and you guys are just going to hit it off. The lot in part is you don't feel worthy to talk to other people outside of the box. And sometimes this is a person of the past. So when you limit yourself and you're only looking at the person of the past as an option, you're not looking at the big picture in front of you. So one of the biggest things that you can do is let go of your past. Begin to start opening up your mind and start taking some chances. So I'm not saying that every girl that looks at you or talks to you is going to be into you, because the reality is they're probably not. So if you keep yourself limited, you're always going to stay limited. You got to kind of get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. You got to take a chance. You got to kind of push yourself to be in uncomfortable situations and be able to face rejection. Now, the more that you do this, it's kind of like doing repetitions. The more confidence you're going to start gaining, the better you're going to become at handling the situations. And if there is potential rejection, it's not going to hurt as bad. You're going to be able to apply that to future interactions. All right, so number 2 on the list, fake stories. Now, weakness number 2, you're normally trying to make yourself feel good. I mean, doesn't it feel good to make yourself feel good? And it does. But what we have to realize is that a lot of times in this, we're trying to hide from something. We're trying to protect our ego. And I've done this a lot, but one thing that we try to do is compare ourselves to someone who's worse than we are. You got to realize that within our minds, we try to craft this story that makes us feel good about ourselves. I mean, if he's doing worse than me, then that means I'm doing good. And I don't even have to try to change anything. What's more effective to do when you're doing this is stop yourself and tell yourself, man, I'm being weak. It's a lot more effective to actually compare yourself to someone who's one step ahead of you. Now, a good example of this, maybe you're somebody who just starts talking to girls. You don't want to compare yourself to someone who's bringing someone home every single night. You also don't want to compare yourself to someone who never talks to anybody, never talks to any girls, never has any kind of hookup or connections, because either side of that spectrum is going to give you a false sense of security on either direction. Or maybe you got that buddy who's really successful and starting to make a lot of money, and it's easy for you and your other friends to say, oh, well, he always has everything handed to him, and he just always seems to have the right connection. Look, our brains are so good at always just fabricating these BS stories. That person's not actually better than me, because if he's not better than me, then I'm doing okay. Look, we're always trying to make excuses and tell ourselves that we're doing okay. And a big part of this is so we don't have to make changes in our life. Much more powerful mindset to accept is this guy's doing better than me, and it's okay that he's doing better than me. But what are some steps that I can take to get a little bit farther ahead of where I'm at right now? What you have to realize is that at the end of the day, growing beyond the state of where you're at, that's where true happiness and fulfillment is going to come, and not from one-upping somebody else. All right, so let's go ahead and get into number 3, and that is not for me. All right, so this last one might be the most insidious of all of them. Sometimes you don't realize you're doing it, and sometimes you're gonna tell yourself you're doing it for a good reason. And that's because when somebody gives you a piece of advice, or maybe you're doing a research for some type of problem that you have, you think, well, this isn't gonna work in my situation because of X, Y, Z. Now I see this every day in my life. I have people that work for me, I have family, I have friends that, you know, you try to encourage, you try to help, you try to say something, and yeah, but well, and they're not really thinking about or taking the advice that you give seriously. And I've got to say, I've been guilty of this in the past as well. There's been things that have been told to me, and I've blown it off because I thought I knew better. Now with this, there's never really a legitimate reason. Now what you're really saying when you say, oh, this isn't going to work for me, you're saying, I don't have the confidence to do this. I don't believe that I'll be able to figure this out and be successful. And again, I've done this countless times in the past. And again, it all stems from a lack of self-confidence that you have. The problem here is blind spots. We're not good at seeing our own problems, no matter how far along in our journey we are. And oftentimes we find ourselves doing the same thing over and over and over again, hoping that we'll finally get better results instead of taking the advice somebody gave us that might have helped us a lot quicker. And the one thing that I've learned is you got to try it. I mean, worst case scenario, it doesn't work out and you're right back to where you were. And if you don't and you want to just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expect the failure. Now, I hope that all made sense. If so, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I drop 2 new videos every Monday and every Thursday, plus numerous shorts all throughout the week that you do not want to miss. Look, I know I'm going to see you in the next video, but until then, remember this. Keep getting the gains to make the growth and level up your life. You got this, bro.
Girl, you got me shook.